Polygon critic Matt Patches says this film transcends the time period. Part Bond movie, part comedic caper, and anchored by a performance that feels Ryan Goslingian. It's a black and white movie that feels alive and contemporary. Variety says it's melodrama, and at times far-fetched and improbable, but the story twists and spins artfully from one high-powered sequence to another, while the entertainment holds like steel cable from start to finish. And critic Dennis Schwartz says, this film couldn't be more entertaining even if it had 40 steps. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of the 39 steps.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters.
Ooh, what a wonderful Robert Donat. Donat?
Robert Donat. I don't know. I was not, that was not my intention. I was just going for classy, British, stylish. But yes, that is how he talks in the film.
British by way of Canada.
Right. Yes. He's spent his time in Canada. Yeah. What an odd character trait to have. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, it's Ruined Childhoods.
Hi.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for clicking play on your app or whatever.
Thanks for checking in with us and hearing us talk about the 39 steps.
Yeah, this
excited.
was a first watch for me, and I was very intrigued to, it's something that I've definitely heard about because it's, an earlier Hitchcock movie before like a lot of the better known ones really were getting pumped out.
Yeah.
And you definitely see a lot of the beginnings of what Hitchcock would later develop as more of his style and, I don't know, tones. And it was really fascinating. And for anybody who is listening to this episode because they wanted to listen to an episode of a podcast about the 39 steps, I hope we're able to deliver for you. But I know that I am not going to be the one to give the best information because, Dan, you certainly have been living in this this property for a little bit. Do you want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, I have. So, as regular listeners of the show who've been with us for at least a year, know that in addition to my teaching duties at the high school where I teach, West Seattle High School, go Wildcats, I also direct the fall play, which is something I love doing because it was what I did in high school. Like that was my activity. Right. That was, if you could have lettered in theater, I would have. But it's like that was where I found my friends from high school that I'm still close with. I know them through theater. And I love doing it, and I love seeing the high school kids have that experience and get really excited. And it's why sometimes I enjoy seeing high school theater even more so than like professional theater, because I just love seeing these kids who are just really excited. And like for some of them, they've never done it before. And like one kid I have in the show is like, he's a senior and he's just like, I've never done it. And I think like, he's got, friends who've been involved in theater, and it's just great. And also, especially because we are doing a live performance, and we're doing the 39 steps, which was adapted in 2005 to a stage play performed originally by 4 actors. One actor
I saw that on Wikipedia and I was like, this must be what they're doing. And because I was like, how else would they do it with all these set pieces and all the characters and
Well, John, the answer to that question is what has been taking up most of my bandwidth these days.
Got it.
Because I didn't do this with 4 people. We had a lot of kids audition. We had about 31 kids audition. And this play has a lot of roles. And those roles are pretty much split between these 4 people. Well, an actress who plays all the female characters, and then an actor who plays the main character, Richard Hannay, and then 2 actors who play all the other characters.
Got it.
And so you have all of these characters, and like we have all these kids, and like we're doing we're actually doing a show, because our last year what I directed was a basically via Zoom performance, remote theater. It was a new genre, and but now it's kind of like it's a little bit of both, because we are performing with masks, and we had a whole lot of paperwork, very specific. We had to submit a very specific safety plan. And in order for our show to open, which it does on November 11th on Veterans Day, so we had to have all of this in, and there you also have to have the names and student IDs of every student, which was also a major challenge, because I cast everybody who auditioned. Because just there was also the theater, the kids in the theater department, a lot of them had cycled through. A lot of kids graduated last year, the year before. So it was this opportunity, and it's you know what? We can cast all these kids, and some of them might just have a little part. But you know what? It'll mean that for a while at least, they won't have to come to a lot of rehearsals. When they come to rehearsals, they'll have a lot of extra time, and they can do things, and they can help out and do set changes and build stuff. So it just became an opportunity to just kind of grow the program and say, you know what, this year we're going to have 30 kids in the fall play. And
so 1 kid of the 31 didn't make the cut?
I forget exactly.
Man, imagine if that was a situation, how bad that 1 kid would feel.
Well, that was also, it was part of that as well. And unfortunately you do have some actors who don't end up working out, but it's been really good. It's been really hard, and
sure,
they're high school kids, and they've got some pretty heavy course loads on top of what they're doing for theater. And now at this point, there's so many moving pieces, as you said, because it just moves from place to place to place. So it's really taking advantage of the spaces in the theater. We have action going on. We have a midway kind of aisle going across the house. That's our Scottish moors.
Oh, okay.
When they're traipsing across the Scottish moors, and when he's on the run.
Right.
And
yeah. And we'll get into a whole synopsis and more
sorry,
about
I'm just
the story. No, but I think it's so cool that you're doing this as a play for high school students, and it's
it's fun because it's an adaptation that's played more for laughs. It's much more in the style. I told kids to get a good sense of the style of this to go watch Top Secret.
Oh.
Things like that. We have some gags like that. We've got an airplane chase that happens.
Okay.
Hitchcock, and we use the music from North by Northwest, and they actually reference North by Northwest in the scene. There's a lot of Hitchcock references.
In either, so okay. I'm gonna take it back just a little bit. So the 39 Steps originally was a novel written by John Buchan. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Buchan. Buchan. And Alfred Hitchcock did the first adaptation of this in 1935, and there have been two other film versions of it. I think they were both made for television, possibly, but one of them was in 59, I believe, and I watched a little bit of that one, and then there's one from 2008, and I believe that one of them actually does incorporate some of the North by Northwest, like, you know, the low flying plane situation.
Yeah. You know, I'm not sure. I've only seen the 1935.
Yeah, the 2008 one I think is on Hoopla.
Yeah. I remember I watched part of it. I mean, there were also several radio adaptations of it, like Orson Welles did. Well, Orson Welles also loved this movie. So
right, yeah. I mean, this was an extremely influential movie. But Dan, I was wondering, the play, does it follow the Hitchcock version or more closely to the novel?
Oh no, it is. I mean, like almost word for word. The Hitchcock, like there is dialogue. There are things that happen exactly, you know, as they're written, or there's dialogue that's exactly the way it's written, but the script, and it's by Simon Corbell and Nobby Diamond, which was you know, first done in England, and you know, moved to London. It was off Broadway in 2010, and then it was on Broadway in 2010. Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry, it ran 2009. It ran about a year. So
okay.
Anyway, it's really played up. It's really played for laughs. They find opportunities where, like, just these strange things happen, where it's like this guy Hannay just ends up, like, every woman he encounters, he just charms them. And it like that type of thing is really played up in the script. And
well, I'm looking forward to seeing the recording that's being done of your play.
Yeah, if I may, it is not just a recording. We have a multi-camera, I want to say maybe 6 cameras, 6-camera live stream that's actually, you know, being directed by, you know, our tech director. Who's going to be sitting at a table in front of monitors. And we have like 4 remote op cameras and 2 that are like not handhelds, but you know, there are cameramen. And so we're doing live streams, and it's November 11th, 12th, 13th, and then 17th, 18th, and 19th. Show starts at 7:30 p.m. And if you go
Pacific
to the
time.
If you go to the website westsidedrama.com, there's a link tree on the website that will take you to where you can get these tickets, because we've got this whole new ticketing system. And also we are having we are having live audiences. Anyone who's planning on coming to see the show live, first of all, has to required to show proof of vaccination, required to be masked, and must make reservations, because we're doing seating in family pods. And it's all distance seating, which actually, because of the distance seating, it's allowed me to put a lot of action in the audience.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So anyway,
I could see that working out really well in the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Which I don't really include that in my synopsis because I don't want to give away the ending.
Okay, I'm glad. All right. Yes. So yeah.
So
Understood.
Shall I synopsize, Dan?
Synopsize away.
And this one, I should have, you know, had you not been so busy, I probably would have been like, maybe you should synopsize this one because you certainly are more familiar with the material. But this is All of these are always just like, what?
We're guaranteed less tangents and a much more concise synopsis if you do it. I'm already like, we're the tank is kind of on empty. I've had basically, I think, about 10-hour days this weekend, 20 hours total in the theater. So right now, I don't know what is coming out of my mouth until it's happening. Water slide brain in effect.
Got it. Okay, well, here we go. After hearing gunshots at a London theater's variety show, Richard Hannay comforts a German woman going by the name Annabella Smith. After he takes her back to his apartment, she admits to being a spy who has uncovered a sinister plot by a man missing a fingertip to steal sensitive British secrets, and some of his goons are out to kill her. After he finds her stabbed, she utters something about the 39 steps and is holding a map of Scotland. Actually, I'm going to take that back again because I rewatched it to get some clips and I realized that was incorrect. All right, I'm keeping this all in, by the way. After he takes her back to his apartment, she admits to being a spy who has uncovered a sinister plot by a man missing a fingertip to steal sensitive British secrets, and some of his goons are out to kill her. These secrets involve the 39 steps. The next morning, he finds her stabbed, and she's holding the map of Scotland that he has provided for her with a certain Scottish farmhouse circled. I don't know. This is so complicated. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, she's holding the map of Scotland, knowing that if he doesn't run, he'll be the presumed killer. He sneaks out of his apartment building and hops on a train to Scotland. There, he discovers that his name and photo are in all of the newspapers. In an attempt to trick the police searching the train for him, he ducks into a train car with Pamela, a typical Hitchcock blonde who he sexually assaults in order to seem like a couple of frisky train riders. But hey, it's the 30s. He tells her what his deal is, and she doesn't hesitate to tell the cops. He manages to hop off the train and escape on foot, still with the police on his tail. After staying a night at a farmhouse, he must quickly move to an area circled on Annabella's map that reads Altnashalach. Once he reaches it, he meets Professor Jordan, a socialite and friend to all local politicians. He also happens to be missing the very fingertip that Annabella warned Hannay to look out for. Turns out Professor Jordan is the one trying to steal Britain's secrets, so he shoots Hannay. But Hannay happens to be wearing the coat of the religious farmer he stayed with the night prior, and the bullet hits a Bible. He makes his escape and tries to tell the police about Professor Jordan, but they are all friends with him and don't believe a word that Hannay, a fugitive, says. He escapes to a busy meeting hall where he is mistaken for a speaker there to introduce a political candidate. He makes up a speech and is spotted by none other than Pamela, who rats him out to the cops, who take them both in, handcuffed to one another for some reason. Hannay escapes with Pamela attached to his wrist, and they find their way to a local inn where he fakes being a secret couple on a runaway rendezvous. Pamela is clearly furious as she has now been kidnapped by what she thinks is a murderer. While Hannay sleeps, she wriggles out of the handcuffs and tries to escape. She overhears two of Professor Jordan's goons talking about Hannay at the inn and realizes he's been telling the truth, so she decides to stay with him and help him out. She overheard that Jordan will be at the London Palladium to retrieve the government secrets the following night. They decide to split up, Hannay to the Palladium and Pamela to the British police. Since this is not likely to be something everyone has seen, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it is satisfying.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you know what I like? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, there's so much from this movie that you definitely see the influence in a lot of, future films. And North by Northwest is certainly one that you think of because there's like the case of mistaken identity and this person who is kind of forced to be on the run to solve this thing to clear his name. And in a way, it almost felt like that was Hitchcock's way of maybe like, that movie I did, I think I could do it a little bit better and a little bit different, now that things have progressed with filmmaking and stuff like that, because, 35, there's not a lot of camera movement still. And, it's it's just different.
Oh yeah,
So-
no, I'm sure. I mean, budget between
Totally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess not coincidentally, these are probably my two favorite of Hitchcock's movies that I've seen.
Okay.
So, North by Northwest and 39 Steps, and I could
I
actually
love
tell
North
you,
by Northwest.
I could tell you the first circumstances under which I saw the 39 Steps.
Oh, please do.
And I was studying acting. It was my first year at the Mason Gross School of the Arts at Rutgers University.
Sorry. I meant to do that one.
Sure you did. Great. And I was, I was given we had to do scenes. We had scene partners and we were given scenes to do. And my scene was from Neil Simon's Brighton Beach Memoirs, which included some references to the 39 Steps, because it takes place around, it's like mid to late 30s. So of course these two teenage boys would have seen the 39 Steps. And, this was, remember we talked about Meisner method, I want to say on the Abyss episode.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Well, when you're studying Meisner, you really get into the, you need to know what your character knows. So of course, if my character saw the 39 Steps and referenced it and liked it a lot, I had to see the 39 Steps. And this was it was not pre-internet, but it was like the early days of the internet. It was certainly pre-streaming services and pre-Netflix. So, and I mean pre-Netflix like DVDs. So sometimes the only way to see a movie like this was to find where they were, either find where you could rent it, find at a Blockbuster, or find the VHS tape. And I think I just had this one of those that you see in the budget bin,
right?
I don't know, like a FYE or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's where I got it, and I still have the VHS, or I think it's gone now, but and I posted it on our Instagram account at Rude Childhoods Pod, as a hint to what this week's episode was going to be. So that was the VHS that I watched, and I was really into it. I really liked it, and so it's always kind of had it's had a high place in my Hitchcock rankings.
Cool.
For a long time. I don't know what I might have seen of Hitchcock's prior to that. I think I had seen Psycho by that point, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Yeah, I think that, I was in high school when I saw Psycho and The Birds, but I can't remember any specifics about it. I just know that it happened, Right. It's just one of those things where it's it feels familiar, like something I would have seen as a teenager, but I can't put my finger on exactly when it was. And yeah, this was my first time watching this, and it was cool. And Dan, I'm sure that you watched this movie at least somewhat recently. I don't know if you watched it in the past week or so, but you know what movie I definitely saw got some influence from this was The Fugitive.
Ah, yes.
Not just is it a person who...
The train.
Well, right,
No,
there's
actually,
the train, but there's not only just somebody who is mistaken to be a killer, but also in the 39 Steps, he walks out and blends into a parade.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I was like, Dr. Richard motherfucking Kimball.
Yeah, he jumps
Here
right
we
in.
are.
Oh, you know what else it reminded me of was the Professor Jordan reminded me of in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The guy was Donovan or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Yeah. The one who hires him to do the.
Basically the one who hires him to go find the Grail, and then like is working with the Nazis.
Right. Yeah.
Remember what I told you, Dr. Jones? Don't trust anybody.
Right.
Even me.
Yeah. So,
except
and
Professor
actually,
Jordan does not lead him on for very long.
No, and actually, why don't we listen to the scene where Hene finally makes it over to what is it called?
Alt-Na-Shalach.
Yeah, and he first is there's a party going on there, and after everybody clears out, this is what happens next.
Now, Mr. Hannay, I suppose it's safe to call you by your real name now? What about our mutual friend Annabella?
She's been murdered.
Murdered? Oh, the Portland Mansions affair. What are our friends outside are looking for you for?
I didn't do it.
Of course you didn't. But why come all this way to Scotland to tell me about it?
I believe she was coming to see you about some Air Ministry secret. She was killed by a foreign agent who was interested too.
Did she tell you what the foreign agent looked like?
There wasn't time. No, there was one thing. Part of his little finger was missing.
Which one?
This one, I think.
Sure it wasn't this one?
No.
I love how his wife walks in and sees him pointing the gun. Oh, wait, in the movie, does he hide the gun?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. His wife comes in and is just like, oh, we're going to be serving lunch soon. Will Mr. Hammond be joining us? Because Hannay gives a fake name at the door.
Yeah.
And what's actually funny is we have so Act 1 of the play ends with Professor Jordan shooting Hannay.
Got it.
And because we already know from his wife walking in that she's in on it.
Yeah.
I have her come in at this, so like Jordan shoots Hannay and then like stands over him and then he's got this evil laugh and his wife comes in and they do a waltz basically. And I staged it to the part of the Batman score when they're on top of the cathedral and the Joker is dancing with Vicky Vale and it's that like kind of that demented Danny Elfman-y.
Right.
So I staged it to that and we have these like really cool like weird red lights that come on but they both do this like maniacal laugh. It's awesome.
Oh, I can't wait.
I probably shouldn't give away too much, but I don't know.
That's okay. Little tastes, and it's describing it. I'm sure isn't as good as the real thing.
Oh no, and the kids are great. The actor who's playing the wife choreographed the waltz, and like it's just so it's a lot of fun, and they're doing they're doing accents, like they're doing really. Like their accents are really good. Like I've got kids doing Scottish accents and they're sounding really good.
Good.
like oh man.
But going back to one of the things that you were saying before you just played that clip is yes, people give away information that you think they'd be holding on to much longer a lot. And that also reminds me of Annabella at the beginning. She's just like, so I know we just met, but yep, I'm a spy. Like it's she doesn't waste any time like spilling all the beans to Hannay.
Oh no, yeah, it's fun. And what's interesting is like Hitchcock movies. I feel like most of them don't move at a very brisk pace, and 39 Steps and North by Northwest are two that do.
North by Northwest definitely moves. I remember one of my gripes about Psycho is like, I'm okay with like half of this movie. I don't need the other half of it.
You know, having watched it, I was watching it again recently, like not too long ago, and totally agree with that assessment.
I mean, it's been a while, so I'll, go back and check it out, but my memory of it was very much just like, okay, moving on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
39
I think
steps.
that I felt that way quite a bit when we did Vertigo for the podcast. It was certainly one of those things where, yeah, and that's not one that I loved so much just because I was just like, ugh. And I got to say, it's a similar problem that I had with Vertigo that I did with the 39 Steps, in that, like, I kind of didn't care about like Hannay, just because he was like kind of a jerk, and like I don't know, I wasn't so much rooting for him. It's not like I was rooting for the bad guys or anything, but I was just like, I don't know, he's kind of a nincompoop, and like, well, I wish that he would have gone like hiding out a little bit and like changed his mustache or the way his hair looked or something. Like,
right. Well, he's no Richard Kimball.
No,
Like,
nor is he Maxwell Hauser.
No. Yeah. No, he's very much, like you said, nincompoop. And it's funny because we're kind of playing him that way because he's also like,
okay, good.
He doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a job. And especially the way it's set up in the play is he's just like, well, I just got back from Canada and I'm living in this like rented apartment that's like under construction and I don't really do anything except for like go to this place where I guess I drink and hang out. And he's like, nothing ever happens. Okay, I go to the theater, whatever. So you're not given a lot to sympathize with. He's also constantly making like bad jokes. He's like he like makes dad jokes. Like not our dad, just the generic dad jokes.
Sure. No. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that I didn't like the movie. It's just that I didn't like him so much.
Right.
And it's funny because, you read about this movie and you read about how revered his performance is and how, a lot of iconic actors like look up to this performance and, Robert Donat's, I don't know, acting abilities. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something, or maybe it's...
Well, it's not him, it's the character.
Yeah, but also it's just like, he seemed just kind of like a dork, and I don't know, just didn't love it. But I get that a lot of it is the character.
Yeah. No, and also, like, you find yourself rooting really for Pamela.
Oh, 100%. She's the best person in this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it's still, it moves. And you could also see where a lot of spy films that came later, not just Hitchcock spy films, but even like James Bond movies, kind of take a cue from some of this. You could think of Professor Jordan as being kind of a forerunner of a Bond villain.
Sure. Yeah, there's some sort of physical something going on physically that sets him apart.
Also in the version that we're doing, we have him coming in. So it's a duck. It's like, I don't know, wooden, like it's just like this painted replica of a duck. His name is Gerald, and Gerald appears in every show. Gerald is always somewhere in every show. So my original plan for a reveal of Professor Jordan was to have him in a very tall-backed armchair in his office while Hannay is standing there waiting for him. And when Hannay is waiting for him, he's kind of like opening the door to where this party is going on. He kind of keeps peeking in and closing the door and then peeking in. And I was going to have the whole like turn in the chair, and then he's holding Gerald, stroking Gerald like
Mr. Bigglesworth style.
Mr. Bigglesworth style, yeah. So unfortunately, we couldn't get a chair that worked or a desk that worked like for what we wanted to do. So now we just have him kind of like entering from behind a curtain with still with Gerald, Mr. Bigglesworth style, but
sure,
it was definitely like that was the direction for it. Was like you're Bond villain.
Well, also he tells the Hannay or the Bond type character, I guess. I'm not that he's a spy, but, tells our protagonist all of the details of what's going on, gives him a lot of information rather than just being like, oh, you're this guy? Bam.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I see that. I definitely see that aspect of it as being an influence for, a Bond villain or Von Kunth in MacGruber or some, any other number of those types of movies.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good, and same for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes.
Spielberg has long wanted to direct a Bond movie. I feel like that ship might have sailed, though never say never.
But, just going back to talking about this kind of being one of those early spy movies that really, carved a path for so many to come. I love spy movies. I mean, I feel like if it's a spy movie, unless it's like specifically targeted towards maybe just children or something, maybe I wouldn't gravitate towards it. But like,
wait a second, are you saying Spy Kids is not?
Spy Kids, My Spy
Next Door,
The Spy Next Door.
No, Spy Kids. I'm sorry. I'm just going to take a moment. I know you're. This is not the point you're making, but I'm a Spy Kids fan.
Oh,
putting that out there.
I'm not saying that I like actively dislike them. I'm just saying like I will watch any.
It's not the same. It's not Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy Kids.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. The first time I watched it, I was just like, oh, this is slow. And then I watched it again, and I was like, going into it being like, this is a slow movie. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, I am really enjoying this.
I remember seeing that in the theater, like when it opened in New York. I remember being really excited to go see it. And I remember, feeling it was really slow because you're like trying to figure everything out. And that film really lets things play out.
Oh, yeah.
But wow, so good.
It's very good. Great cast.
Gary Oldman.
A different type of spy movie, which is cool. Yes. And this is kind of an interesting one because it's like, the spy dies right away. So
right.
It's somebody who's trying to clear his name by doing what the spy set out to do.
Yeah. Right.
So that's kind of an interesting aspect to it. Yeah. So Dan, I have to know, like, is there anything, because of what we do on this podcast and theorizing, like, what we would do, you're in an opportunity where you can do things. And is the more like top secret-y aspect of it, that style of humor, is that something that you've added to it, or is that something that was kind of baked into the script?
Oh, I would say baked into the script.
Okay.
I mean, like, I don't know if that was exactly what they intended or just what I saw in it, but, and I've never seen it. I've never seen a production of it. So I'm really just going off of the script that I read, and is like, I just thought it was really funny and saw a lot of great opportunity. I was like, if you could get the right performances, some like just really over the top, hammy acting. And, it's, I think I originally intended to have more kind of call outs to specific, like, Naked Gun. Like, I had a bit originally in mind that was taken from the Naked Gun that I didn't end up using because it really didn't work. It wasn't, it would have been forced. It would have been a forced bit. It didn't really fit in. But there were some other things that we had planned to do that we just couldn't because we didn't we weren't able to produce what we needed for it. Like when he asks her if she wants a haddock, which is an interesting thing to offer attractive young woman who randomly at the theater asks you to take her home.
Right.
It's an interesting choice. So we were making a big, I was like the largest a haddock could be. I want just a big floppy haddock for him to whip out onto the counter in front of him. Like I want him to like offer her haddock and she's like, yes, haddock would be wunderbar. And like just have him go behind this counter and just slam this huge haddock onto the counter, and at a certain point I was going to have him like cleave its head, but
right.
It's in the beginning process, you just have all of the everything in the world in your head works out perfectly, and then of course as you're going forward you're like, okay, maybe we can't do this, or maybe that's not going to work.
Well, so also in that scene he cuts a slice of a piece of bread from like this giant loaf of bread.
Oh, right.
And he somehow cuts like this perfect slice. And I'm just I watched it twice and I was just like, look at that immaculate slice of bread he just cut.
Well, and you're wondering why actors look up to his performance. Like,
it's
come on.
It's probably just like something carved out of foam. And it's probably not really bread, but I looked at that thing and I was like, I bet you
that's legit bread. And I'd like to see Daniel Day-Lewis slice some bread as
I'd
flawlessly.
watch Daniel Day-Lewis slice bread. You kidding me?
I would definitely watch. If it was his character from Phantom Thread, if it was, God, what's his name?
Reynolds Woodcock.
If it was Reynolds Woodcock, yes, I would watch a movie about Reynolds Woodcock slicing bread. Yes, as long as there was someone there for him to be an asshole to.
God, it's so good.
Big Phantom Thread fans here. Okay.
Yeah,
anyway.
I know. So, and then, so you were saying that there were things that you wanted to put into your version of this that you couldn't, but were there things that you added to it that weren't in the script so much? Did you kind of take any opportunities to kind of see any type of like vision through, where it's just like, I know what I would do if I was making this?
So there were a couple of things that we did, and I'm curious to see how this all works out. But we have so for the plane chase, how are you going to do that on stage? And there's lots of different ways it could be done. And I was like, you know what? I want it like a cardboard box plane. I want it to look like something like the Peanuts gang would have made.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like they finished it today. They finished making it. And we're and we're just kind of like painting it all like it's cardboard. It's a cardboard box. There's some wooden framing in it and like under the wings, and the wings have hinges on them so that they can fit through the door. But like it looks like a cardboard box plane. Like the wings are even made with cardboard. And like it's basically gonna look like something the Peanuts gang made. And we're just gonna paint the whole thing white and then take some black paint and write plane on both sides.
Nice.
Because also then later in the show, as Professor Jordan's thugs are driving them, I guess, to Professor Jordan's, they're blocked by a flock of sheep blocking the road. So of course, what do you do when you have a 30-person cast? You grab all the actors that aren't doing anything, and you're like, you're sheep now, you're sheep. And then the costumes question is, well, how do we make sheep costumes? And all of these different ideas and thoughts. And then one day I was just like, let's get some white t-shirts and write sheep on them. And like, we'll get some white beanies and add some little ears on them. And those are sheep costumes.
Yeah.
And then we added they wrote on the back of the shirts, they wrote "ba" on the back of the shirts, and we added, and I was like, you know what those need? Little sheep tails.
Yeah.
It's like, can we get little sheep tails? And of course, like my costume department, and this is all kids, by the way, who do all this stuff. Sorry, I'm like, I should say, like, you know, because sometimes it's like, oh, your costume department is a bunch of teachers and parents. I'm like, no, it's really like we have a couple of teachers, we have a couple of like adults helping out, but the kids are doing this, put tails on the sheep costumes. So we have like that type of thing going on. And then there's the some of the innuendo. There's a thing whenever Hannay like we have him every time he meets a new young woman that he's interested in, he does this thing with his hair. It's kind of a running gag. There's a running gag with him. What's the other thing? I'm sorry, I'm like in my mind running through the play. He does this dip every time he like kisses a woman, because he like kisses the wife of the crofter whose house he stays in, whose little like cottage on the Scottish moors. He goes to the little like hotel that's out in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. And we've just got some funny stuff with that, like the two that play the hotel owners, the McGarrigles, like they're just really funny, and I have them doing it like Archie and Edith Bunker, kind of.
Oh, I was hoping that you were gonna have them do it like Carol Kane in Transylvania 65000. And the guy.
Yes, it is very. It's similar to that. It's also like, I would say, where else did we draw inspiration from? I definitely had all the kids, like the guy playing the crofter. I definitely had him watch like the Mike Myers, if it's not Scottish, it's crap sketch.
Oh. Okay.
Cause you know, it's over the top. It's funny. And I was like, I want you to just have this really like gruff, like Scottish, like farm, like raised, you were born on this farm, you were raised on this farm, you are going to die on this farm. I
want to know how he met his wife. By the way,
we talked about some stories because she talks about how she had lived in Glasgow. And so
it's like this old farmer is married to this, I don't know if old is old, but like, you know, older farmer is married to this younger woman who certainly is like cultured and loves the idea of living in the city and has lived in Glasgow and stuff. And
it's very much
it's like, how does this happen?
It's very much one of these, like, maybe she was having some wild times, so her father like arranged this marriage and was like, here, you'll go marry this man. And he's just like, so of course when Hannay comes in, she's just all about it. Yeah. And helps him get away. It's really funny, like, and they really play that up. Like, there's a scene at the table, and it's funny because I hadn't watched it in a long time, and then I was directing it, and then I thought, like, you know, let me check this out, because I was having some challenges with staging some scenes. Like, there's a chase outside a train, like outside a moving train. It's like, I'm like, maybe I can check out the movie and see what's going on here, and maybe it'll help. And honestly, it didn't, because it's not being played for laughs. But the scene in the Crofter's home when they're having dinner, the Crofter already thinks that Hannay and his wife are sleeping together, and he's been there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And like he's saying grace, the Crofter's saying grace, and Hannay is trying to sneak looks at this newspaper to see what the newspaper is saying about him. And that's when Margaret sees that it's him on the newspaper. So the two of them are like looking across at each other because they're all pretending to be listening to this prayer. And then the Crofter opens his eyes while he's still praying. And I was like, there's no way it's like this in the movie. And it is like this in the movie. We just kind of really pump up the volume in the play. So it's kind of like you could imagine Mike Myers playing the Crofter doing that, like between that and the father from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
I was going to ask if you had your students watch Yeah.
Definitely, we definitely watched like one of his scenes.
The Pentaveret.
Yes. Yep. And not also the thing, the Weekly World News.
Yeah.
This is the paper.
The news.
Yeah.
Paper now.
Hey, it's like Sputnik. Spherical, but quite pointy in places.
Watching Anthony LaPaglia like just cracking up
Totally
in that
break.
scene is so satisfying because it's like it works for the character.
Yes.
So it's totally okay, and you know that that's all just like genuine, just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yes. Yes.
So Dan, I have really one more question for you about your role in directing the 39 Steps. Do you get all Hitchcockian and make a cameo?
No, I do not. I would love to, but it's like,
Is it more like Gerald is the Alfred Hitchcock of
Yes.
West Seattle High School theater productions?
John, you nailed it.
All right, there we go.
You nailed it right there. Yeah. Gerald is the Alfred Hitchcock who appears in every production at West Seattle High School, including the 39 Steps, November 11th, 12th, 13th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 7:30 p.m., live stream, or come see it in person.
Yeah. So Dan, aside from directing this as a play for high school students, what else would you do with the 39 Steps?
Okay. Yeah. So, we mentioned Annabella before, and, we were talking about about her character. I feel like there's some like prequel / spinoff potential with her character. How does Annabella in the movie Smith, in the play Schmidt, how does Annabella, become this spy who's not working for Germany?
Yeah.
Which in the novel was from 1915, so this was different Germany. The movie's 1935, and it is set to be 1935.
Yeah.
And so it would be interesting to kind of see some Annabella Schmidt backstory. But honestly, I kind of would like to just see like a really talented filmmaker do a straight up remake.
Yeah, that's where I was going to, because it's like this totally works. You could do present day. I mean, that's just what I was thinking, present day, because like even the 2008 like BBC version still takes place. I mean, first half of the 20th century. I couldn't pinpoint exactly when it was supposed to be set.
Yeah. No,
I think maybe it was even earlier, because it definitely wasn't this like doing what the Hitchcock version did. It did its own thing.
I think some of them are pre-World War I, some of them are pre-World War II.
Right.
But I would keep it as pre-World War II. I think it really works, and I think the idea of trying to prevent war and something that we know didn't happen, but kind of these little struggles and the fact that like these things were going on. I like the idea of that. I would like to see. I was just trying to think off the top of my head, thinking of filmmakers, just like the three that popped into my head. Actually, I was kind of curious to see what Damien Chazelle would do with.
Really?
I'm just kind of like, for me, he's 1 and 1. Not a fan of La La Land, but loved Whiplash. Like,
yeah.
And really, because
did you see First Man?
Oh no, I did not see First Man.
It's
okay,
it's fine.
Yeah. So, but I was thinking about Whiplash, and I was thinking about the tension brought to that, and I thought that maybe that could work. I also thought, I mean, I know he's done like Bond movies, but I thought about Sam Mendes as someone who could really do
so good
a nice like a nice like nuance. Like he really gets tone. Like I rewatched Road to Perdition not too long ago, and
yeah, it's really good. I watched that maybe a year ago.
Yeah, like I really enjoy Sam Mendes' work. Of course, when dealing with something British and thinking about, well, who's someone who kind of likes to try different things, do different things. Of course, I thought about Edgar Wright, and
Okay.
I'm sure that there are a lot of filmmakers out there, both British and not British, who could really do a really good job with something like this. And I think it would just be a really good opportunity to see a filmmaker try, something in it, like a good classic standard genre film like 39 Steps.
Who would be your Hannah?
Well, let's see. I would want them to be British. They would need to be on the younger side. So I mean, I don't, in thinking about it, I'm like, would a Daniel Radcliffe be a bad choice for something like this? I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think of names of like, British actors who are, I guess, around like 30, around there, early 30s. I don't know, is Harry Potter 30?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I was thinking about Taron Egerton, who I really like, but I don't see him in this. I don't see him.
Also, he does his own like spy stuff.
Yeah. There's that too. Dan Stevens.
Who's Dan Stevens?
Dan Stevens was on Downton Abbey.
Okay. Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes. I mean, Dan Stevens is who would be cast in this if they did it. I'm trying to think of like other people from Downton Abbey that I would cast in this. So,
yeah.
But I think I feel like Dan Stevens would make a really good Hannah. I would love to cast a young David Thewlis.
Oh my God. Well, I'd say David Thewlis would be really good as Jordan.
Yes.
He'd be a great Jordan.
Yes. Yeah. So what are you thinking?
He'd be a great Jordan or the like farmer. Cause he's, like I could see him being really like, I don't know, paranoid and schemy and kind of slimy and,
Yeah.
He's so good.
That
but anyway,
works.
yeah. So what I was thinking was more of a modern day remake of this, and instead of having it be centered around, an aircraft engine, which is what this is. I don't want to give too much information for anybody who hasn't seen it, but something for warfare. I would say that maybe there'd be some sort of like, international race for like free, clean energy, like some sort of like energy source or something like that. It's been done 100 times, but like, so has, what do you
have you ever seen Chain Reaction starring Keanu Reeves and Morgan Freeman?
Oh God, no, I haven't. Is that what that is?
That's basically the plot.
Oh my God,
actually, come to think of it, yeah, I'm like, except for it's different in that like Keanu is like one of the scientists who comes up with
Got
this.
Got it.
Yeah, it's an Andrew and speaking of The Fugitive, it's an Andrew Davis.
Film. Look at that. That's so funny.
Wow.
All right. Well, so maybe it isn't that, but it's something like that where it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to do with like one country versus another, but maybe just like, it's something that's been developed by like the, whichever government, British government, US government, I don't know, but it's, threatening to be sold to a different government that, I don't know, maybe, it's hard to say because you don't want to pinpoint a country as being the villain, the entire villain of something, but just being sold to another country is, maybe all you need.
You could
but
pick a harm, like, what about Denmark? What about Denmark?
Yeah, right. Something like
come
something
on.
that you just don't hear from a lot.
Yeah.
And for director, I was thinking Duncan Jones.
Oh, yes.
I knew I was going to say that and you'd be like, oh, yes.
That is exactly what I said.
Yeah, we were here. We have it on the recording. So Duncan Jones. And I wasn't necessarily thinking that it had to be somebody who was like in their 30s. And I don't know. I didn't think that it needed to also be somebody who is British, because in the Hitchcock version, it's a Canadian. Why he sounds British, I don't know. But it's like,
he's a Brit who is living in Canada.
He's a Brit who's living in Canada? Is that what it was? It's just,
and then
why
came
even
back.
do the Canada thing then?
And then I think the whole idea was that, like, he was in Canada, like, when he was in Canada, like, there was, like, a lot going on. And I feel like there's stuff that we don't know about, like, why he came back. But,
yeah.
Or maybe, like, his
But he's only there for
he's
only there for a month, though, because he's renting a furnished apartment. He's only there for a month.
Yeah,
that's what he says.
The novel probably explains more.
Yeah,
and I will read it when I have time.
That part is unique to the Hitchcock version.
Yeah,
I don't know. So so I was thinking somebody like, and maybe because I had Duncan Jones in the mind, I was thinking like Sam Rockwell would be really good. Just like somebody charismatic who. I don't know, you could see being one of those people who's like put into this impossible situation where they need to clear their name. And also by doing that, they are, performing the duties that this spy did. And maybe, this would have been better for Sam Rockwell 15 years ago. But
I don't know. I mean, maybe this specifically, but in general, though, I do like the idea of Sam Rockwell playing like that type of part, or like the Cary Grant type part from North by Northwest. Just seeing Sam Rockwell in that type of role, and I'm trying to think.
He also plays younger, He
does. He does. It's I how old is Sam Rockwell?
I'd say probably 50, 55, maybe a little bit younger than that. I don't know.
He is 53.
50? Hey, look at that.
In fact, John, as today is November 7th, he celebrated his 53rd birthday 2 days ago on November 5th.
Happy birthday, Sam Rockwell.
Happy birthday, Sam Rockwell. You are a treasure.
Look at that. Look at that. I mean, there's so many fantastic actors out there. This could be one that's also, a gender swap. It doesn't necessarily need to be a man.
No.
There's also so many just fantastic actresses out there that, it's, that's not really my focus of doing it. But my main thought was that I would want it to be a remake that is set in modern day, because we do have 3 versions of this that are, one of them is a period piece. The 2008 one is a period piece. The other 2 might be more specific to those eras. Although the 59 one, I'm not sure if that one plays for a different time period, but I could definitely see something more modern day, because this is a plot device that does get kind of recycled. And like we said, The Fugitive is a very similar movie as well, not necessarily incorporating government secrets or anything, but the person who is assumed to be a murderer who is trying to clear his name, and there are trains involved, and there's a parade.
There's a parade. Yep.
And there's a banquet hall scene. So there you go.
And a traitor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So a lot going on.
Devlin McGregor is the name of the pharmaceutical company, which I think about Devlin McGregor all the time. I'm just like, that is such a great name for a pharmaceutical company. And they just nailed it.
I mean, Best Picture nomination.
Yeah. just because of that name, Devlin McGregor. So
that could have been the tipping point for some people.
So, Dan, any more thoughts? You've already given your pitch to people for checking out the 39 Steps, West Seattle High.
No, yes, thank you. I will not take any more opportunities to do that. No, just like it's kind of, if you're someone who's looking into, like you're looking into getting into some of the more of the less seen classic films, especially in terms of Hitchcock, find an opportunity to watch this, the 39 Steps. Hitchcock's version. I mean, and it's a fun story, and I think, you can check it out and enjoy it.
Yeah, and also, I didn't describe what happens at the end, and you just got to know it. I mean, it's something that I saw it coming, but when I came to the realization and then saw it actually happen, I was like, good. I'm glad that they did that. It wasn't one of those things where it's just like, I figured it out. It was just like, yep, they did the exact right thing.
Yes, they made a good choice.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock, he's got a future.
Yeah.
They said.
That's what they said in 35, yeah. Dan, do you want to tell people what we're going to be doing on our next episode?
Well, I mean, basically, we're kind of going to be freestyling. John and I have decided that we're going to just kind of do an episode where we allow the conversation to flow, and we're going to talk movies, and we're going to talk a little bit more about ourselves, our, kind of our backgrounds, how movies became so important in our lives. Our favorite movie-going experiences, least favorite movie-going experiences. I guess if you have any questions for us, send ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. Yeah. And we'll answer those, or if there's anything, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about some movies that we probably won't do any full episodes on, but just kind of do a little 5-minute dive into them. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're doing this because, as we've discussed on this episode, Dan has a very busy week coming up with the play and everything, and it's also the end of the quarter in terms of school, so just want to take it a little bit easier and not give Dan any homework. No, but it's I'm looking forward to it too. It'll be fun to do something a little different, and maybe get to ask each other some questions that we don't normally get to ask, and bring up some movies we don't ordinarily get to talk about, and shoot the proverbial shit for a little bit. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And check out our link tree. It's in the show notes and the episode's description. And also you could email us ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. Speaking of that link tree, I just got to say, my Ruined Childhoods tote bag has come in clutch this week. Because all right. What's nice about these tote bags is they are a bit larger than your average tote bag. And as I've been getting things that I need to bring in, ordering tons of stuff from Amazon that I need to bring into the show, and carrying various things around throughout the day, it's been in heavy rotation. Excellent. Heavy totation, I should say. Oh. On that note. Okay. Well, Dan, as you are on the run, jumping off of some Scottish bridge, I wish you a good journey. Good journey.